Hello and welcome to what I call a new video, and today we are going to be talking about the fact that Deltarune is in June 4th even. It's crazy, I know. Predictions, I asked you for your goddamn predictions and you gave them to me. See, I asked the Discord and then told you YouTube people about the Discord so that you would be on the Discord and I would tell you about it. And you've generously provided a whole host of ideas for Deltarune Chapter 3. So if you want to give your ideas for Deltarune Chapter 4, that you will have to do by joining the Discord, so go ahead and do that. And while you're down there, you can also subscribe. Super Smashing Fighters will be mentioned or a mini-game. That makes sense, because one does constitute the other. I don't really get the or, but you know. Also, it would be a very good thing if I do say so myself, because Super Smashing Fighters is something that Asgore played, and since Realce is going to be in Chapter 3, we can have a lore drop there, because those two are objectively connected. Realce is an anagram of Asgore, guys. So the Super Smashing Fighters theory, gotta give that one an S. The secret boss in the 3rd chapter will be able to break the 4th wall, since he will think that reality is a show or something. Okay, so the prediction here is that the Chapter 3 secret boss is a Deadpool-type TV character. So we're going to call it the Deadpool theory. And frankly, that is an interesting concept for a secret boss, I gotta say. At that time, I'd like to meet Deadpool. And that's a very interesting concept, you know, you gotta give it to him. However, I don't think it particularly fits into the narrative that we're building up with all the secret bosses right now, and I feel like this would be too much of a jump. Sure, the other two have some sort of awareness about what is going on, but they certainly don't have awareness that they are in a video game or that there is a 4th wall to be broken. If we throw that in on the 3rd one, what do you really do on the 4th one? So I feel like instead of being an S, instead of being an A, I feel like this is a certain C. This is a C-type theory. 2 main factions / channels in the Dark World, being the favorite of Asgore and Toriel. You can only choose one channel to side with. The other channel faction will end up being a boss before the main boss. So what I get from that is that at some point in the chapter you'll be able to make a choice between Asgore and Toriel. Now we don't know if Asgore is even in this chapter, but fair play. So we are going under the assumption that Asgore is in the chapter, and then we make a decision of whether or not we side with Asgore or we side with Toriel, and then if we side with one, we have to fight the other before the final boss, which is, I guess that is a theory. So the faction theory, I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm gonna be absolutely honest with you. I don't think Asgore's gonna be in the chapter. Like, we have had a bunch of setup for Deltarune Chapter 3 specifically. We had the police being called, we had Chris setting everything up, so we know Chris is in there. From screenshots, we know that Realce is in there. We know that Susie's in there because Susie is on the couch. We know Toriel's in there because she's sitting on her chariot, Lamau. And Undyne is probably gonna be in there because she got called for the police station. Of course, it could also be Napsterblue, but I doubt that Asgore is gonna be in it because, while yes, Asgore may still have old police channels, he doesn't necessarily have, you know, distress calls. Like, why would he be there? But I can be absolutely goddamn wrong. So we are going to go ahead and assume that this is a C-tier theory because, well, he could technically appear and this could technically happen. Then someone went ahead and made a prediction for the entire game of Chapter 3. Undertale fans cannot read. After I pointed this out, they added then, Sean will ask for another Shadow Crystal in Chapter 3 and will actually start being visibly more anxious for you to get them, showing visible signs of disappointment if you don't. Well, that's, I mean, sure, I guess, but I don't think Sean is the kind of guy to actually do that. I think he's just kind of past the point where he gives a shit whether or not the world ends. Like sure, he'll help you out if you ask him, but like, the Chapter 3 secret boss will be something none of us have actually thought of and will yet seem like the most obvious thing ever. Fair play. I mean, we have TV stations, which is, you know, one thing, but, you know, we also have the entire house. Which, like, the secret boss, I want to be clear, it doesn't have to be a TV thing. Like, the TV itself has already come to life. It doesn't necessarily have to be a TV thing. So it might just be a kitchen appliance for all we know, and it may seem very obvious in hindsight, but we have absolutely no idea. So this is actually a very good theory. The clueless theory. You know, that gets an S from me. I think, more hope than think, that the chapter will take place across the home rather than just the living room, as I think that opens the door to more lore and gameplay possibilities. Genuinely, Thomas, yes. See, we already know that Dark Fountain isn't limited by a room. We know that from Chapter 2 because the closet is also Cyber City. You know? So maybe it's a closed door that stops the Dark World, but that's not true either because we already know that the front door of the house is open. So what I think is how it works is that whoever makes the Dark Fountain, Chris in this case, stabs the earth and decides what radius the Dark Fountain has. I personally would think it is a pretty cool thing to have like the whole house be the thing, because now then we can also, you know, have the room upstairs, you know, the room with both of the beds, with Asriel's and Chris's room. That'd be cool to have. That'd just be cool. And it will actually tell us how these Dark Fountains work in a more express purpose. It'd just be good. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put that shit on the board. I'm gonna call it the House Theory. And I give that an S, because it's awesome. In Chapter 3, you will not obtain a Shadow Crystal. Sean says that the next one cannot be obtained without the Shadow Mantle, which I believe to be some kind of doll clothing, since equipment having a lightweight counterpart has a precedent. If Chapter 3 has a secret boss, then they will grant the Shadow Mantle upon defeat. This boss will not be Tenna or Mike, instead another character. The secret boss will be either Ice-E Deodorant, could use red and blue, the soul, I guess. Maybe even cyan orange soul mode attacks. This bro just lists everything. Fuck's like. That's not a prediction. That's a dictionary. Okay, so the basic theory is that it'll use another soul mode and is not Tenna or Mike, which is fair play, I guess. And also will give the Shadow Mantle. So I'm gonna call this the Shadowy Theory. Shadow Theory, there we go. And like, it's interesting. There is no precedent. Like, if you're right, you know, fair play. There was no precedent for any of that, but I gotta give you the credit. Undyne is going to be the secret boss / serious. I mean, okay. I mean, that would be a break from the formula, and that would be an interesting break from the formula. The guest character not being, you know, manipulated by us, or not learning from us, and instead being the secret boss for us. That's interesting and continues to make every single chapter feel different. You know, you love to see it. So the Undying Fury, I gotta give it, you know, I gotta give it a good A. You know, that upper echelon, I feel. Pluie is the janitor's secret assistant. I presume you mean the janitor that like has a dripping face and constantly has to wipe after himself. I mean, sure, Asui Fury. The assistant Pluie, also known as Asui. 'Cause sometimes you gotta wipe off your face, fellas. Someone is either going to die or Chris is going to get called out on the Dark Fountain shenanigans. Also probably cool Undyne fight. Okay, so what I read this as is that either someone gets killed or Chris gets called out on the whole night business. Which is an interesting thing, you know, the weird rule continuing by Chris killing someone so their secret doesn't get out. That is an interesting thing and I support it wholeheartedly. The exclamation mark murder fury. Why exclamation mark murder? Well! I'm going to heavily assume Tenna is going to be the main boss. Toby put out a Blue Sky post saying that his friend missed Tenna. So this could be saying that since the guy missed Tenna, Tenna has to be pretty main. This literally has one piece of evidence. I think it has a few. But that's just me though, you know. Boss Tenna, Bonner. It's like, yeah, probably. Like, it's like a 50-50 between the Mike and Tenna. Like, it really is a toss-up. But I think Tenna makes more sense. We shall see. In less than a month. Christ. Also, make sure to join my stream. It's gonna be like 5 people watching me. Because everyone's gonna be busy watching actually cool people. My theory for chapter 3 and 4. But all of these are literally just chapter 3. Okay, sure. We will be able to meet Papyrus and spend time with him at the end of chapter 3. Chapter 3 will start off in a world that seems to be darker, yet darker than the dark world. Why? We will be able to meet Gaster. Fun fact about Gaster, actually. My ringtone used to be his theme. That's not a joke. So since this was sponsored by Dust, I'm just gonna call this the Dust Fury. I know it's different Furies, but like, they have, like, most of this has the same amount of plausibility, except the last one, where I don't think, and the one before that, I don't think we'll meet Gaster in chapter 3. Which I'm just gonna pretend all of this talks about, even though it said 3 and 4. Chapter 3 and 4, I'm going to kill all of you. My prediction for Deltarune Chapter 3, because Chris creates the Dark Fountain, we are going to have a choice between closing the Dark Fountain or no. but because there is only one ending, if we choose to not close the Dark Fountain, what I think is gonna happen is that Ralsei will tell us to close the Dark Fountain. If that doesn't work, Ralsei will inform Toriel about the problem with having too much Dark Fountain, and then Toriel will force us to close the Dark Fountain. What? I got a little bit of that, I think. Okay, so the theory is that because there's only one ending, which we are treating as a fact, even though it fucking isn't, even on the Steam page, there's a question mark. Anyway, you can either close the Dark Fountain or keep the Dark Fountain open, but when you try to keep it open, Ralsei tells your mom. What the fuck's she gonna do about it? She can't close it. What? That'd be a weird interaction to be in chapter 3 of all places. It's like, sure, we can have like a Dark Fountain, I won't close this Dark Fountain thingy in like a later chapter. We're in the third part of a 7-part story. It's like, it's a little too early to deal all the cards, I think. So we're just gonna call this the Rush theory, and we're gonna move on, I think. We're gonna see Mettaton in chapter 3 and get more lore info on the Neo robot that Spamton took over. Not really more Spamton lore, but more about the origin of the robot himself. Mettaton. I presume after the Dark Fountain, because it doesn't make any sense otherwise. But why would we get lore on the robot? The robot isn't canon in the actual world. What? We know the lore. It's a design that Mettaton's ghost made in the library. What? We know the lore. What do we find out? What? The fuck do I call this? the yes theory. Oh yes. We're gonna see Asgore in chapter 3. We know that he used to be of the police and Toriel called the cops when Chris slashed the tires. Asgore likely still has police connections. Maybe he still has a radio on the transmission. When he finds out his family might be in trouble, Undyne possibly mentioning the door open in the radio, he'll come because that's for the love of his life and his child. I mean, yeah, he can definitely arrive, but like he'd arrive very much late. And also, funny phone, what do you have to tell me? It is a Reddit notification from r/Undertale. I hate how the ruins has an entire abandoned city in it, and to this day it gets ignored by everyone in favor of the same purple hallways. Yeah, it used to be the capital. What the fuck do you mean ignore? Anyway, we're going back in. I guess this is an offshoot of this theory, I think. I wrote S. I don't know why I wrote S. You know what? This theory, that's what I call it. That's the Asgore theory. It's just S. The Asgore theory. I'm such a fucking idiot. The reason the screenshot of the stealth section looks really weird and inconsistent with the sprites used in it is not just Toby being Toby, it's because you aren't meant to be there. Well, obviously you're meant to be there, like in universe, but like, I mean in universe. I think it's because it's strange that not only Toby did say that the stealth section was scrapped, but we now have a screenshot of it actually being in chapter 3 and where it looks unfinished as well. I think the stealth section is in part of whatever the final area of the chapter is, in a room that Tenna was originally going to do something with but scrapped, and the reason you need to sneak through the hallway is so Tenna and their servants don't find you where you aren't supposed to be. And was it the end of the hallway? The scrapped cowboy section, that's right. That's right, this prediction, it was building up to me unironically believing it's Woody. Jesus, I destroyed everything. How did me throwing my marker at my whiteboard cause this to fall? What? Am I truly this powerful? Where's my marker? It's under the table. Yep, anyway, Woody. This is fucking stupid, though. I don't know why everyone, like, fucking convinces themselves that every random post that fucking Toby Fox makes is supposed to be a hint for Deltarune, when it's just a stupid-ass song. Like, remember when I posted Not Lawyers? Yeah, that was actually an elaborate ruse to tell you that I'm gonna be rapping in chapter 3 of Deltarune. See, because I'm living on the beat, muscle on the beat, and you rap, you freak, bro, main down, color, hember lamps, till I'm breathe, now I'm boss, across you walk around like tease, what's up with these jabroni ass, trying to see Compton, the industry can hate me, fuck 'em all, Hindi, mama, how many options you really got? I mean, there's too many options, I finna pass on his body, I'm John Stockton. Chess theory is false, Tenna is the chapter boss, and there's no one called Rook, not as a nickname, not as part of a full name. I do believe Woody theory is real! And a battlefield will be a train, like a singular train, not 3 fun gang, member-sized one, so it's actually unique. Also, Nubit and Starwalker will form Voltron and defeat Gaster's secret boss, Megazord. What about Mike? what about that guy? what they do to Mike? Is it Mike Tenna? Is Tenna's full name Mike Tenna? No, fuck it isn't, because we already know those are 2 different characters from the sweepstakes. Anyway, I'm not even gonna grace that with like writing it on my whiteboard. That's fucking stupid. Okay, I'm being a little harsh here. Chess theory can absolutely be fake. You know, it doesn't have to be real. But Woody theory, nice fucking no. If Chapter 3 Dark Fountain consists of the entire Dreamer house, that is to include Asriel's computer as well. Since Asriel's computer contains Undertale on it, maybe we'll have an Undertale-like arena in the dark world, in the dark world. I don't know, but I think it'd be neat if the player suddenly walks into a new room and it's literally just a room out of Undertale. That would be neat, but I don't think that is going to happen. This is a prediction video after all, you know? I just don't think the Undertale theory is real. I don't think Toby just put Undertale in his Deltarune. There's going to be another boob joke. There was one in both chapters, so it's likely there could be another one, because we all know how immature Toby is. How dare he sully my Christian Undertale Deltarune experience with giant fucking tits! You heartless, horny dog! The tits theory is real. I believe that Bluey will just be a joke character like Nubit and the original Starwalker. He will appear somewhere in the special Nintendo room. I know it's not exclusive to Nintendo, but I'm calling it the Nintendo room anyway. I also think that when we find Toriel with Kiss and Ralsei, Susie would be doing other random stuff, that there's going to be a quick thing with Tenna. So basically Toriel thinks that Ralsei is Ariel, and before Ralsei is able to tell her no, either Toriel immediately gets captured, or Tenna forces them to play a random minigame, and Ralsei is just trying his best to explain to her what is happening, but he won't have enough time to say anything at all. Hold on, I need to do the mouth. Shenanigans. Theory. I don't know if anyone has said this before, but I believe that much like the Snowgrave route, there is going to be a Heartburn route where Toriel, taking the place of Chapter 2's Noelle, would burn darkness. However, it won't be through manipulation, but through Chris abusing Toriel's protective nature. This will fit thematically, I believe, because first off, similar to how Noelle throws programs, the TV programs would sort of burn out of air in a way. Second off, Toriel is overprotective, so by Chris not stopping Toriel, so it's in character. Third off, like chapter 1 was you directly killed them, chapter 2 was you forced someone to kill them, chapter 3 will be you didn't stop someone from killing them, slowly prying out the oh no's away from you and playing with them the themes of morality. Sorry for the long-winded submission, but I think it's worth it. In chapter 1 you didn't kill anyone. Sorry to break the bubble, but absolutely no one died in chapter 1. There was 0 casualties. However, Heartburn is a fire fucking name, I gotta give that to you. The concept of Heartburn, that shit go hard. that shit go hard, burn. It does go hard. It does go incredibly hard, you gotta give it to him. You know what? If I ignore all the parts that don't make sense, okay, so Pluie will be the secret boss, like Jevil and Spanton. Toriel will think it's a dream. There is going to be a character development because the chapter 2 was basically a Filler chapter? Chris will die, Undyne will appear, and someone will say the pizza is a sandwich, and that is my theory. My game theory! Thanks for reading. Now, of course, this is a joke. However, the filler chapter, how do you even come up with this shit? Damn! You know what? I'm putting your ass on the board. The filler theory. And now the solution music! I will die, you foolish fool! I will burn this filler down. Out of here. What's 3 more years? I can always start again. Wait for another chapter. I don't think Toriel will be a team member necessarily. I think she will follow you around, but I doubt she'll actively do anything in fights due to her harmless nature. And Undyne probably won't fight the kids because unlike Berdly, she's an adult and probably has more self-control. Basically me trying to disprove the theory that Toriel and Undyne will play similar roles to Noelle and Berdly. However, I think that if in Chapter 3 has a weird route path like Chapter 2, we will fight Undyne and kill her. I think bro forgot about the fact that the goat tried to burn a child to death. Like, she can kill the child. Like, she likes to talk a big game, but motherfucker, her controller unplugged like this. She ain't the saint, my man. And if Chris and Toriel be doing shady fucking shit, a police officer is going to do something about it. She has self-control. In a neutral run, she probably ain't gonna go ahead and start drop-kicking some children. What I think gonna happen, maybe, if the weird route exists in Chapter 3, that is, she can definitely attack you. You know? This is literally the nothing ever happens theory. Pluie. Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I'm waiting for! That's what it's all about! Woo! Switch music! It turns out the cliffhanger was just a gas leak. Thank you, Monica from the Literature Club. This is again, nothing ever happens. The next one, listed not a Chapter 3 prediction. I believe the weird route will continue in Chapter 3, but we will not be able to do it, proving that it has to be Noelle. And that's it for the Chapter 3 section of their comment. Okay, so, abort that weird route majiggy thingy, because it has to be Noelle. So, we have the deer theory. She is the key to everything. Holiday. No one realizes that Chris made the fountain, not even Ralsei. Everyone is genuinely clueless. The clueless theory, but again. I know this is a completely different theory, but I'm not writing clues again. Ralsei and Toriel are going to meet, and it's gonna be hella awkward because Toriel's gonna confuse Ralsei for Asriel, kind of like how Delta Traveler Toriel confuses Chris for Chara, since she doesn't know what's going on with the Dark World and stuff. I mean, yeah, that does make sense. But it's gonna be really funny because like people that have been saying they look nothing alike are gonna cope so hard about that fact. At least one person will enjoy Deltarune Chapter 3. This is not a prediction, this is a threat. If you do not enjoy it, I know where you live. Thanks, Yuti from famous YouTube channel Yuti. However, what if I don't? You don't even know my damn nation! You probably do. You don't even know my damn state! And you think you can defeat me? Me, the man of the sweet chin music! Yeet! During Chapter 3, it will be revealed what happened to Des, possibly from one of the items, as a Darkner, and with more of the truth being revealed to be in the setting of Chapter 4. It's a little early, I think. Why now? It's Chapter 3, guys. What items? Does Des just have a stash of fucking crack cocaine in Chris's drawer? Huh? I don't think that one's true. You know what? Voices. I'm gonna call it the crack theory. Because what else would Des have in the fucking house? What? I think Noelle might come back as a party member in Chapter 3. But if it does not happen, it's most likely going to be in Chapter 4. In Chapter 3. In Chapter 3? Why? What? How? Why would she be there? I like to imagine that like Chris and Susie were like absolutely chilling on the couch, and then Noelle is like looking in from behind, like, oh my god, Susie, I need to stalk her. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, no, I don't think that's gonna happen. Dear Fury wrong. Dear Fury wrong. Two things, one serious and very much not serious. One, I think the weird root Berdly will be revealed to be alive. If not at the end of the chapter, then at the start of the next. Chloe will be the only character you are required to kill, but if you do spare them, then they will die through some Final Destination Rube Goldberg nonsense. Rube Goldberg nonsense. So the second one, presumably, is the one that's supposed to be haha funny. Fucking hate everything. I love storytelling where consequences don't exist. I love having characters die on screen only for them to come back because, imagine thinking some consequences are in our story. This is how you tell stories, right? Dumbest of all time. Like, anyone that comes to me with a theory of, oh, Berdly isn't actually dead, then why the fuck did the game make it out to me that way? I love the Rise of Skywalker. I really loved how they killed Chewie for 2 fucking milliseconds and then brought him back immediately. I love storytelling. Sweet Samuel! I still think the secret boss will be flowers in the trash bin, and probably the flowers gifted by Asgore in Chapter 1 would make the boss stronger somehow. Well, that's a good theory, you know? I feel like that goes into the Clueless again, but like that's an actual you know what? I'm gonna make a new entry for this one. This is a good one. A flower boss. I feel like it would make more sense to have this like the flower boss in like whenever we go into like Asgore stuff. But like we can do that. Ralsei won't be in the majority of Chapter 3. I disagree because Ralsei made his way pretty quickly to the library after it was made. So yeah, I don't think Ralsei will take too long. Yeah, especially since Ralsei basically immediately entered after Chris and Susie, and I don't think it would make sense if it took him that long. It's gonna take a little bit because he presumably needs to make the way all the way from the school to the house, but like the way isn't that long. Like it's really not that long. So the Goner theory. So yeah, the Goner theory, of course, talking about how Ralsei is going to be gone. In Chapter 3, Sansa's dialogue will reference something even casual players will recognize as plot relevant. This may be something relating to Dark Worlds, Fountains, the Bunker, Des, etc. Casual players likely do not have any idea what Des is. Yes, Noelle had a whole dialogue about it, but it was a single dialogue. I think a casual player overlooks that immediately. But I don't think Sansa's gonna get plot relevant at all ever. Especially not in the first chapters. Like, I can see it in, like, Chapter 6 onwards, but, like, for now, I don't think. So, Snaz Fury, I don't think. Tenna will have multiple personality disorder, kind of like changing the channel on a TV, assuming Tenna is the TV. That's an interesting thing. But I wouldn't, I don't like that, I don't think. I don't think I like that, you know, especially worded like that. I think she should have a Junko Enoshima kind of vibe at the end of Danganronpa 1. I think that's the kind of vibe she should have if we go with that thing. And but when I read that, I was thinking of dissociative identity disorder, which is a real thing, by the way, where people have multiple personalities. And I feel like if it's done like that, that would be bad. But we can do the Junko Enoshima one. So do that. Due to the laws of Chekhov's gun, since the Dark World is in your house along with Toriel, Undyne will be an ally, or at least appear in the Dark World. Toriel called the police at the end of Chapter 2, and Undyne is the main law enforcer, so it figures that they'd break down the door to your house and end up plunging into the Dark World. Funnily enough, they don't have to destroy the door for that to happen, because the door is open, specifically so that the police can come in. Presumably, that's what Chris did, you know, meant by doing that. So yeah, Undyne just appearing is, yeah, I agree. We all know Toriel will have fire attacks in Undertale. We all know Toriel will have fire attacks in Undertale, and it will probably be the same in Deltarune, but that's not what Toby wants us to think. But that's what Toby wants us to think, so instead of giving Toriel fire magic, Toby will troll us and give Toriel water magic just to fuck around with us. That is a thing that could possibly happen. Water. I need hydration water. And finally, Chapter 3 will have 2 main antagonists. My guess is Mike and Tenna. that we'll fight at the same time in the finale, mostly because I believe Chest Fury and there's 2 rooks. The weird root will persist in Chapter 3 and will most likely involve Toriel, but the way it is done will be much different from Chapter 2. The secret boss will use the green soul, and as much as I love some of the theories, I don't think any of them will come true. At least not any of the most popular ones. The secret boss will be something nobody really expected. Clueless Fury. But will make complete sense. Clueless Fury! I'm guessing there will be a woman, since we haven't had a female secret boss yet in Chapter 3. Feels like a good time to introduce one for some reason. So it's the Clueless Fury, with the Chest Fury, and the Heartburn Fury. I mean, fair enough. And those were your predictions for Deltarune Chapter 3. Now we're going to do the same thing with Chapter 4 in a little while, so make sure to join the Discord if you enjoyed this video and want your stupid voice to be heard. My fit goes absolutely goddamn hard! Cue the clown!